Welcome, dear friends. Here we are. We are together for our Learning with Emmanuel series. We come here a few times a week with one of the messages from one of the books of Emmanuel. This time we are studying peace. The message today is from the book Patience by Emmanuel through Francisco Candido Xavier, and we've selected parts of message 15 that is titled Conquering Peace. So you and I will learn today, what do we need to do to conquer peace, to reach peace in our lives? Emmanuel will say, there are tribulations and tribulations. To eliminate those tribulations that disturb our lives, let us begin by cooperating and building peace wherever we are. However, we need to know the thorns that weave together the concerns that predispose us to imbalance and suffering. So let's pause here before we look at those thorns or those barbs. Thorns or barbs. He says, there are tribulations, remember, a world of trials and expiations. We are still at the level of imperfect spirits. Then he says, in order to eliminate those tribulations, we need to cooperate in building peace where we are. So let's make an evaluation. Where is God granting me the blessing of being? Which part of the world? Which city? What are the talents I have? What are the things that I can and cannot control? What is my circle of influence? Wherever you are, he says, let us begin to cooperate in building peace. So the peace is not others to make. The peace is not in the future, elsewhere. He says, building peace wherever you are. Remember, society is the sum total of all its inhabitants, just like education is the sum total of our habits. So if my community is not peaceful, it's because each and every one of us in that community is not peaceful. So when we work in building peace in us, then the world around us will be more peaceful. So let's look at the thorns that predispose us to imbalance and suffering that ultimately does not allow us to be peaceful. He says, the complaint against someone, aggressive complaining, the curse unleashed by anger, the unfortunate answer, the sarcasm, the phrase with sarcasm, the depreciative concept or the depreciative comment, right? Who doesn't do that? The malicious note, the gesture of sourness, the destructive criticism, cry of despair, thoughts of hate, lamentation, violent attitudes, mocking laughter, speech covered in irritation, whispers of rumors, impatient, and the verbal blow of condemnation. So let's just by saying, I'm going to pick some here for us to consider. These are things that predispose us to suffering, to imbalance and suffering. How many of us during one day will complain aggressively, will complain against someone else, will curse, right? People say it's just words. No. The Spirit Emmanuel, in a different message in the book Calmness, tells us that our voice is full of vibration. And the sum total of what we say is our sound portrait. So when you say things, when you curse, you are lowering your vibration. There are mental thorns that are sent to others when we complain, when we when we speak with sarcasm, when we write a malicious note. What is a malicious note? The fake news, social media that we post, things we share without knowing if it's true. When we change the truth to something that fits me It's a malicious note, right? When I comment on someone's appearance or in someone's life, I give an opinion of something that's not of my concern. The destructive criticism, there's a lot of people criticizing destructively in this world. So we need to make constructive criticism. And criticism is only constructive if people are willing and able to understand and accept, right? Thoughts of hate. How many people now have thoughts of hate based on they don't look like me, they don't speak like me, they don't vote like me, they don't live where I live, so I hate them. Right? And then unfortunately we have a leadership in the world in many countries that are giving folks the opening to be openly discriminatory against others. So the thoughts of hate, because sometimes people don't say things, but they think. When you're thinking, you're emitting waves, and those waves have amplitude. Those waves have power. Those waves form mental particles that form thought form, that create thought forms, and you're communicating with the entire humanity all across the universe. So if there's the thought of hate, someone who is hateful is going to connect with you, and there's much more difficult for us to live this circle of hate. Lamentation, violent attitudes, mocking laughter. A lot of people do a lot of mocking laughter, and we think it's nothing, but it is a lot. The minute of impatience, when we are not allowed a few seconds of patience to gather ourselves and be more understanding. Now he's going to talk about the effects of all of these thorns. He says that each invisible thorn we refer to is comparable to the sparkle capable of lighting the fire of discord. So every time we send one of these mental thorns, again, complaints, cursing, sarcasm, depreciative concepts, malicious notes, criticism, hate, lamentation, violent attitude, etc., etc. He says it's comparable to igniting the fire of discord. And we don't want to ignite the fire of discord. What do we want to do? We want to quench. We want calm. We want de-escalation. And winning discord does not benefit anyone. The only ones being benefited by discord are the forces of darkness who want to see us suffering. But the higher spheres do not wish for discord. The higher spheres do not work for discord. They're actually actively working to de-escalate discord. Now, how do we go about it in our daily lives? He gives us the recipe. As much as possible, let us accept this tribulation that life has in store for us. So first, acceptance. This is where I am. That's why the first question we asked was talking about constructing the peace where you are. It was, where are you? What are your family members? What are your acquisitions of spiritual matter? What are your talents that you can give to the world? Where can I have my circle of influence and a positive influence on my circle of influence? He says, and let us know how to use love and tolerance, patience, and the spirit of service, that we are truly conquering the values and blessings of peace. So if we see someone doing the things we just mentioned, that's the key for us, the signal for us to love and use patience, tolerance, because we don't know what people are going through. So we do give the benefit of the doubt. But we act with kindness, we act with understanding, we quench. Someone comes and makes a malicious note, comment about someone else, we extinguish the evil. We don't call them to let them know. We say, okay, this is not my experience with X, Y, and Z. They are also children of God. Like, I don't want to talk about people behind their backs. Really short, sweet, you extinguish the evil, right? And he ends by saying, do not wait for others to ask you for a cooperation. He says it's not when others do, it's when I start doing. Collaborate voluntarily in the certain they will be sowing valuable seeds of working love in the construction of a better future. So we teach ourselves. I do because it's the right thing to do, even if it will be not beneficial to me, right? We do the right thing. If a loved one commit a crime, the right thing to do is to take them to the police. We don't protect, because if we do something against others, there is a cost. In a modern society, there are laws, the rule of law. So we don't ask, we don't wait that others cooperate with us. We do because it's the right thing to do. I start a Spiritist center. I start a Spiritist group. I study. I go feed the homeless. I help my co-workers. I help the animals in my area. I do whatever it is that you came here to do, because you have a talent. You have a special talent that it's only for you. You have a mission. You have places to be, things to do that God granted you the opportunity of doing, that is just for you. So, dear friends, here we are. We have finished one more message. It's message 15, Conquering Peace, from the book Patience by the Spirit Emmanuel, through the mediumship of Francisco Candido Xavier. I'm very delighted to be here with you today. I hope you've enjoyed this series so far, and I hope that God will grant us many more opportunities for studying each message from this book and many others to come in our Learning with Emmanuel series. Have a blessed day. Take care.